I'm going to reveal the 4 most common mistakes that I see with LinkedIn advertising. When I first join a company, or when I first start doing marketing consulting for a company, I often suggest LinkedIn advertising. And the typical response is something to the effect of, we tried that, didn't really work, we're gonna focus on Google ads, we're gonna focus on Facebook ads. Now, the good news is, with just a few small tactical changes, I can usually produce a very strong improvement in the LinkedIn ads. So let's talk about what the mistakes are and how to address them. The first one, and this only applies when you're dealing with demand generation, lead generation, it is sending traffic from your ads to your homepage or to a campaign-specific landing page. Now, the problem with sending people to a landing page is that they have to click your ad on their phone or on their laptop. Your website landing page needs to load, and then they have to see another form that they may or may not fill out. So every time you introduce another step, you're introducing a friction point, you're introducing the issue of time, where it may take time for that website to load and somebody might abandon it. And you have to optimize each one of those steps to make sure that the conversion rate optimization is perfect. Because if it's not, you're not gonna generate any leads, you're gonna have nothing in your demand generation funnel. You can address all of that by simply having a lead gen form in LinkedIn itself. The prospect doesn't have to leave LinkedIn and they don't have to go to your website. Now, your website may not be optimized properly, it may not be tested, and if you do want to send people there, you're going to have to spend a lot of time and money to make sure that it's a seamless process. You don't need to do that because you can simply capture the leads within LinkedIn itself. So some people will say, okay, I like the lead gen forms, but I have to manually collect them in a CSV file that I export from LinkedIn, have to import that into Salesforce or whatever your CRM is. It's just too much of a pain. You can fix that with something like a Zapier integration. So it is much more scalable than people realize. The other thing that I want to point out is that the LinkedIn forms are not just applicable when you're doing image ads and video ads. It also applies when you're doing the message ads that go directly to people's inbox. There are cases where you're still going to have to send people to your landing page, and that is when you use LinkedIn's cheapest ad type, which is those simple text ads that have a tiny image associated with them. So you can't avoid the CRO issue completely, but you can significantly reduce it by doing the native lead capture forms. The second common mistake I see is that advertising on LinkedIn doesn't use enough negative targeting. And when people actually look through the analytics and to see why their LinkedIn advertising underperformed, it's often because the people seeing the ad weren't the people that you expected to see the ad. And often it's a lot of people in sales and business development. So if you're not selling a sales tool or a business development tool, you're probably wasting a lot of money getting reach to people that are not applicable to your target customer group. So the way to fix that is look at the data to see who are seeing your ads that shouldn't be, and then introduce negative targeting. So negative targeting based on job title, based on location, based on whatever you see as the issue in your analytics. The number 3 issue I see is that people rely on the default price bidding that LinkedIn suggests. You don't want to do that, at least not in the beginning. What you want to do is use cost per click, which is typically what you would use with something like Google Ads. So change the price bidding to cost per click. Now, even when people get to that step, they make another mistake, which is they go with the recommended bid. You do not want to start with the recommended bid, you want to go with the minimum bid. But the minimum bid is not obvious. So what you need to do is you need to put in an extremely low bid, like $1 or 25 cents, and then LinkedIn will rebuttal and say, the minimum bid that you can do is, I don't know, $2 or something like that. So put in that minimum bid, or even slightly higher than the minimum bid sometimes, just to make sure you're one-upping your competitors. The other thing that I notice is there's this attitude that LinkedIn advertising is good for basically 2 things. It's good for content marketing, so doing things like getting people to download a webinar, which is sometimes a questionable use of our advertising budget, but depending on your strategy, it may make sense. And the other is that LinkedIn is good for awareness marketing. And I'm not disagreeing with these 2 things. I think LinkedIn can be very effective for those 2 things, but I think what people are missing is that LinkedIn is an extremely effective tool for demand generation, so pure sales-oriented lead generation. Now, the last thing that is a bonus awareness is the idea that you want to focus on lead nurturing. And this is something that is also applicable to Facebook advertising. Now, when people are used to using Google Ads, they're used to dealing with people that are at the very bottom of the funnel. They're actively searching for something to buy. They're actively searching for a solution. They're pretty close to making a purchase. But the level of awareness and intent when you're doing social media advertising is often lower than you would expect. So what you need to do is you need to continue marketing to those people through advertising and through emails. And there are other techniques you can use like SMS, you can have SDR outreach, but the main thing I would say would be email marketing. And what you need to do is continue educating them about the problem that you solve, about why you're the best solution, and why somebody should actually engage with your sales team. So building that nurturing sequence should help improve performance of your LinkedIn advertising.